Yeah. It's the Bitter Realtor Podcast. We're talking about all things Los Angeles real estate. If it's got four walls and a roof, we're talking about it bitterly. Welcome back to the show. It's the Bitter Realtor Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Rockenstein, and finally back, riding shotgun where he belongs, Scott Goldman.
Hello, bitter people.
Scott, you have been absent a little bit, but so glad you're back for this very special episode. And why is it special?
We're live.
What?
We're streaming live on YouTube, my friends.
How is that even possible?
Well, we got a nice fancy setup. My studio is all set up. We have always wanted to do something like this.
Totally.
And I'm not going to do a whole demonstration on how we got stuff working here, but I got an 810 Mini Pro. I got lights. I got green screen. That's how you're seeing this beautiful image of ours behind us. All that good stuff. So
for those of you who don't know what the hell Scott's talking about, we got a bunch of fun equipment.
We got goodies. We got an action-packed show, Joe, so let's just dive in.
Absolutely. This is a great show to go live about because there are so many things that have been going on in the real estate world. So our topic for today, none other than buy now or be priced out forever again? Question mark.
Forever.
Tariffs, fear, and the truth about LA's housing market in 2025.
And for just a second, let's talk about tariffs. Let's just talk about what they are.
So I guess the first question is, what the hell is a tariff?
A tariff is something that gets placed on the country importing the goods, and then whoever's the importer of those goods has to pass that cost on to you and me.
The consumer?
The consumer has to pay. I know. It doesn't.
Wait, so we have to pay for that?
Yes.
Got it.
We have to pay for that. So we've seen all kinds of stuff, right? We've seen the tariffs on steel and aluminum, which of course affects everything, right? Building
completely
in our business.
As if building wasn't already having a tough enough time with like the cost of lumber and things like that.
That's right. So something like a Chinese cabinet is going to cost a lot more to make.
It's a beautiful cabinet.
It is not bad. Okay. So anyways, the idea of tariffs means that you and I are paying more for the goods that we use all the time. So
maybe we can have someone else explain.
Let's do. So go ahead and we're going to run some video for you because we can do that now. And then we'll talk on the other side.
Walk us through what you were thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause.
Well, I thought that people were
Now, this is the pause on the tariffs that we're talking about.
This is the pause,
okay.
Yeah.
jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were
Yippy.
getting a little bit
Right.
yippy, a little bit
They were getting,
afraid.
we were
kind of
getting
like these
yippy.
champions.
Got it. Okay. So the tariffs are getting a little bit yippy.
The tariffs are getting a little yippy.
Right. And so that's why we would pause them.
That's right.
So I guess my ultimate question is, how are these tariffs good or bad for the real estate industry? Like, how should we frame this?
Okay, so why they're bad? They're bad because
I said good or bad.
well, first of all, tariffs are bad. Period. We don't have Ronald Reagan video today, but Ronald Reagan would definitely tell us their tariffs are bad.
Right.
So it's not Reagan's party anymore.
I think it's been a while since that.
Yeah, you're right.
But before anybody, get all like yippy about what we're talking about, we're talking about the LA housing market. So this is part of the episode, which is tariffs, which are affecting the market. So don't start commenting like you guys are so political and all that stuff.
Oh no, we're not being political.
Right.
I mean, I'll just state for the record, I don't think either one of us appreciates this current president of the United States.
Right.
That's fine. And I'm going to get political.
I just want to sell houses.
That's it.
Right.
But the materials, can you imagine what a place like this is going to cost now to build?
So we're talking about like at least 25% on steel and aluminum.
At least.
Correct?
At least. So when we're talking about steel and aluminum, right, we import a lot of this from Canada. And now we've now pissed off everybody in Canada.
Right, which is hard to do.
Very hard to do.
I mean, I've been to Vancouver, I've been to Quebec, Great place. I love them. Oh, and the Canadians have been very friendly.
They're very friendly people, and they're probably pretty annoyed with us, but that's fine. The thing that's important to know is that tariffs are bad. And it's going to cause all kinds of problems. The home prices are going to go up. The building prices are going to go up. The interest rates are going to go up. And we're already paying a lot for eggs. So
essentially, it's just going to have a big domino effect
pretty much
on our industry,
yeah.
which our industry has already taken a major beating over the past, I would say, 3 or 4 years at least, starting with the strikes and for the writer strikes or the actors in Hollywood. That had a huge impact on our industry. The fires also had a completely major negative impact on our industry. Because if housing inventory wasn't already short enough, the fires wiped that out even more.
I mean, they haven't tallied it all up, but I would guess we're close to $1 trillion loss in the state of California. It's rather depressing to drive down PCH. And while those were mostly shanties on the ocean side, now your view is completely unobstructed. You can just see.
Right, directly to the ocean.
Yeah, and now they've started trenching, finally. So as they get ready to rebuild, they're trenching and putting all the electrical underground, finally.
Right, but so interesting your choice of words right there, because I never would have described a $25 million house as a shanty.
Well, I was talking about the actual shanties.
Oh, I must have missed those. I was too busy being obstructed by the $25 million houses, which is another thing. Like, you don't want someone building a huge house blocking your house.
You're not going to see a house like this on the coast.
I mean, oh, man.
They're nice views, but you're not going to see anything like that on the coast.
Right.
So, but that's, the expensive homes, a lot of them are still standing because they're made out of concrete.
Right. There were several people who already suffered from Malibu fires previously who had figured out a way to build houses from material that was like fire resistant or things like that.
And there's like a guy, an architect in the Palisades who did the same. He's all alone now. His house is the only one standing on that street.
Wow.
Yeah. His neighbors too, by the way.
So I think maybe that's kind of like the way that we're maybe going towards, like for rebuilding, maybe?
I think, and it's a great point that you bring up, it seems to me that if you're going to build in California, it behooves you now to build with materials that are less flammable or not flammable. I think it should be a code. Because, I mean, look, we haven't really discussed this on a show since it happened because it was just a disaster for all of us. None of us here in Los Angeles, none of us doesn't know anybody who's lost their home. And I say that the right way. Every one of us knows somebody who's lost a home. Some of us know more than one.
Correct.
So it's terrible.
But does that throw like another wrench in the housing market, considering like what does it cost to build a house like that compared to what it costs to build a house like with regular materials?
Okay, so it's another great question. Typically, builders are looking at a building cost of, if they're really good, they're at $400 a foot.
At least.
Yeah. If everything is, upgraded from hinges to doorknobs to cabinetry, you could be at $500 a foot very easily. And you can go up from there. You can really tell a low-end build from a high-end build, although some of these builders actually own the material yards. So they can do a $500 a foot build for $350 or whatever their costs are. But the problem now is the cost of all these materials is now going up.
Correct.
So now we're not at $450 a foot. Because of tariffs, we're at $550 a foot. And now put that in perspective, you can do some quick math. I'm building a 3,000 square foot house at $500 a foot. I'm at a $1.5 million build.
Right. Not good.
You right now are involved with some builders who feel like they're not getting enough.
Correct.
For the price that they want to sell for.
Yeah, my clients, they put in $1 million into a brand new construction in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, their profit margins have been gradually declining, I guess, is because, people don't want to pay that price, even though it's like a beautiful house. Like, people just don't see the value in it. And that's another thing that I feel like builders are kind of like dealing with, is that buyers have become extremely, I guess, scarce in some of those price points. Like, there's non-existent. There's fewer of them looking for houses at that price point. And also they become extremely picky about those price points as well, which actually I talked about in the previous episode. I just feel like they see these houses that are completely redone on these like reality real estate shows.
The DIY shows.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, that's the exact house that I want, but those houses don't exist.
No, and everybody wants new construction. It seems like everybody wants new construction.
Right.
And there's already a premium, as you know, for new construction.
Absolutely.
So, if it's new construction and it costs all kinds of extra money, who's going to buy that house? I think it's clear that you and Dana have some challenges before you, especially with these particular developers.
Right. And it's interesting because it's not just like our listing specifically, it's all new construction.
It's everything.
Like, everybody is sitting at that price point who is either completely remodeled or just a brand new build. It's having a tough time moving. Like, it's been sitting for a while. And I think that it's a culmination of all of these things that are having buyers put a pause on pulling the trigger. Like, there have been plenty of buyers who have come through our open houses who love the house and who are seemingly looking to put in an offer, and then they just ghost us.
That's the other thing that I don't understand with buyers, is the ghosting. Sellers have a harder time ghosting.
Right.
But it kind of segues into our next discussion, which is this days on market issue that seems to be rising. Which, when we first started doing this, and this is, by the way, episode 31. 31.
I think it's 33.
Is it 33?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My math is bad.
That's good, though, because I want a mistake on live.
Yeah.
On a live episode.
Did I say 31? I meant to say 31.
Right. No editing that out.
No. We'll fix it in post, except this is post.
Yes.
So, days on market, when you and I started doing the podcast, days on market was like 10.
I mean,
12.
that seems like decades ago.
Yeah. Now where are we?
I mean, at least 80.
80 days on market. So here's what happens, right? And if you watch one of these real estate shows with the $5 and $7 and $12 million properties.
Right. We're not just picking up the phone and closing out deals like this.
No.
They're missing like the whole part about receiving emails and the offers coming through and like that whole point. But that would make for boring reality time.
There's a ringing effect with this whole thing,
right.
So, pardon my clock.
That's something you don't say very often.
No, and I don't even know if it's coming through on our microphones.
Right.
But listen, I do a watch and clock podcast too. All right. Anyways,
days on market.
So days on market, they talk about how listings go stale. So what they're saying is, it's like a loaf of bread. When you first bring it home from the market, it's nice and squishy, and you want to eat half of it. It tastes so good.
Right.
But maybe 5 or 6 days later,
it's hardened a little bit.
It's maybe a little green. If you got the bread at the wrong place, it's a little green. If you went to grocery outlet, bargain market, maybe it's starting to mold as you left the store.
Right.
But
we get the bread reference.
Yes, the bread. So listings go stale because there's all this great excitement at the front end of it. And then unless you get a buyer within, that first week or two, then you're sort of.
So I guess my question about that is, wouldn't you say that it's not so much going stale, but is it more normal now for listings to take this amount of time to sell? Like, isn't that more of a normal market versus, the 30 days or less, which we were so accustomed to because of the pandemic?
It seems like, yes. It seems like the cash buyers that were coming out of the woodwork for the pandemic purchases, they've gone away or they've made their purchases. It caused a serious rise in inflation, as we know, because all this cash flowed into the real estate market. We've had the NAR settlement in there. We've had brokerages pay off billions of dollars in lawyers' fees. So there's been a huge paradigm shift in our market. And coming back to days on market, yeah, maybe that's more of a norm now, 60 to 70 days, but the tariffs certainly don't help either.
Well, because I think it's like what this whole episode is built around, that there's this fear that people have now about the real estate market. And just, I think about the world in general, there's just so much uncertainty that is contributing to all these things.
Agreed.
Where if you if you just pulled all that aside, I feel that people would be buying and selling real estate in a more normal fashion. And people are so glued to the televisions. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am too sometimes, but it's just causing this, fear of the unknown, of what we don't know what's going to happen. People think either the housing market's going to crash, that there's going to be a wave of foreclosures, that all these things are going to happen, when they're not going to happen. It's just, I think if people just kind of let things settle, like we can kind of get back to hopefully what is a normal real estate environment.
We have a unique market, okay? As California realtors, I think you and I and all of our other brothers and sisters in this state have a very unique marketplace. California, now the fourth largest economy in the world.
Right, I just saw that.
And the fact that we have so many incredible revenue producing industries here. Silicon Valley. I think our regional sports teams drive more revenue than all the other teams together. I think the Dodgers alone are the highest worth baseball team. They've surpassed the Yankees now.
Wow.
I wouldn't say the same about the Angels, but but the Lakers, obviously, our film industry, which somebody's trying to tariff that too now. So I think as far as California goes, I'm just going to say it, let's secede.
Become our own?
Let's become our own. We've got the military, we've got the coast, we've got the Space Force at Vandenberg. Let's just say bye-bye.
And just be our own beast.
Yeah, we'll let New York come along. We'll take Washington, and Oregon can join us. Maybe some of the people in Austin, Texas, but not the rest of Texas. Hawaii, they'll be with us. Parts of Florida, maybe.
Scott, treading the fine line what the topic is about.
Did I get political? All right, so back to days on market. So what do you see it settling down, or do you see it coming back?
Well, no matter what, I feel that the inventory issue is still going to be very prevalent no matter what. So yes, the days on market are longer, but we still have a housing shortage.
Well, inventory is inventory.
Right. So that's still going to take several years, I feel like, to correct. And having these issues with building is going to hamper that even more.
Supply and demand.
Correct.
Okay.
So even though, sales are happening, but you kind of have to really get specific with what sales are happening. I would say, 1.5 million and below, those houses are moving. Like they're coming on the market, they're having their usual open house activity and things like that. Because I've seen this for my own listings that are at that price point, and things are selling. It takes a little bit longer than 30 days, to be on the market. Don't get me wrong, but compared to like 2.5 million and above, that's taking a little while.
So I think that'll be a very interesting topic. Let's table for our next show where the prices are landing and how they're relating to days on market. So as an example, the house you guys are selling right now, you and Dana.
Right.
What's the ask on it right now? I know that you're in pause on it, you're on hold, but what's the...
2.5 million.
So 2.5 million for the house.
which is $882 a square foot for brand new construction.
In what area?
Sherman Oaks.
So that's about right. 1,000 a foot, somewhere 1,000 a foot and under. Is it,
depending what part of Sherman Oaks you're in. Yes.
what side of the boulevard?
So we are north of the boulevard.
You're at Burbank, right?
Yeah, so we're just below Burbank Boulevard.
Burbank and Kester.
Yes.
Okay. So the house is beautiful, but the hood doesn't necessarily
Right. So
drive this price. And this is why, I didn't make this note over here, but one thing that I was told when I was out house hunting, somebody I respected at the time, I'm going to make that really clear. I respected at the time.
he no longer respects them.
He's not alive anymore.
Oh, God.
So not sure I ever respected him, but he did say one good thing. He said, find the worst house in the best neighborhood. So you talk about, looking for homes that have minor flaws on them.
Right.
So expand on that,
Well, I mean, if you like the worst home, you can put your own spin on it. Like you can fix it up. You don't want to necessarily have I don't know. Like
example, across the street from you, you sold a home recently, and the house itself was pretty much, it
was a gut.
It was a gut.
Yeah.
It was down to the studs or down all the way.
Right.
It was a full RAS.
Which they've already gone down to the studs.
So the buyer took it to the studs.
Yeah.
So whoever bought it has an absolutely fabulous property in an incredible neighborhood. That's what I'm talking about.
True. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes sense and it's hard too, because I represent the seller and we're trying to sell this beautiful house, but those things do factor in, and buyers are aware of that. Like, do they want to have a house that's completely move-in ready, or do they not want to spend as much money and do some work on the house? So you really have to decide what kind of buyer you want to be. And the one thing that we haven't even brought up in this episode yet is how are buyers still affected by the interest rates? Like, are they finally getting used to it, at 7 or a little bit below 7? Or is this still something that's keeping people on the fence?
Well, and to your point, does somebody want something turnkey? And is the bank going to loan them the money for that? Or is the house a tear down and the bank maybe won't lend them the money? I mean, there's all kinds of...
There's different factors that are coming into play.
By the way, the people who are doing the construction on the place across the street from you that you sold, are they the end users or is it a developer?
Developer.
So the developer is going to rebuild this house, flip it, and then you're gonna do the takeout.
I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, there's no contract in place yet, but allegedly I will hopefully sell it. But also that kind of worries me a little bit, because now we're looking at another house that is not brand new, but it's completely going to be completely remodeled, so it'll almost be brand new. But these houses are having a hard time. So what is going on in the industry to have houses that are remodeled or brand new having a hard time to houses that need some work that are selling? Usually the brand new construction houses were the ones that were flying off the shelf.
Usually, and they were huge and they were south of the boulevard. And as you've said to me, you don't think tariffs are definitely messing with the housing market, but they're pushing up some background costs. So
right, things are happening in the background. I think my feeling about the tariffs is there's something that I feel, especially because you saw the video, like we put that up there, obviously as a joke, but it seems like things are so back and forth that I think if people would just kind of like wade through all the bullshit, they just know that this is like just something that we need to get used to, unfortunately. Like we have so many things that we have to get used to.
Well,
this is like another thing.
Some stuff I'm just not gonna. Some
fine.
Stuff I'll choose my battles on the get used to stuff.
Right.
But to your point, yeah, this whole thing is really a trouble because it's creating volatility in the market. Investors just want stability. They don't want questions. They don't want uncertainty.
Right.
They want solidity. They don't want some guy with a saying on one day, tariffs are great, but we're going to pause them tomorrow because everybody's pissed off at me. It doesn't work. I don't even want to mention his name.
Right. Well, I mean, we don't have to, but the point is that, you know, there's all these things are kind of factoring into why buyers are having a hard time pulling the trigger, and also why sellers may be having a hard time putting their house on the market, because there are several sellers that maybe are on the fence as well, and people are waiting for all kinds of things to happen. They're waiting for the Fed to come back to the table and make another cut on the rates for them. And you know, they're almost like Trump too, because one day they say they're going to make a cut, and then you don't hear from them, and then they say we're not going to make a cut right now. So everybody seems to be flip-flopping.
Yeah,
right.
And the only one who seems to be holding any line is the Fed chairman. So I love him right now. He could lower interest rates, and then housing prices can go up. But I mean, it's sort of
that's the juxtaposition. Is that you know, what do you want to have? Do you want to have a great interest rate and then pay a higher premium, or do you want to pay a lower premium and wait? Did I say that right?
Try it again.
Okay, take two on a live show. What do you want to have? Do you want to have a low interest rate but pay a higher principal, or do you want to have a higher interest rate and a lower principal?
Right.
I did it.
You did it. So what I'd rather have is a lower interest rate and a lower principal.
Well, how are you going to do that?
You're going to find the ugliest house in the nicest neighborhood.
There we go. You and your ugly houses.
See how I brought that full circle? Hey, do me a favor. Wrap up bring up our video, of our bumper video, because we're going to use it on the outro. And then I'll fix it up for the next show. So bring it up, because I want to do a little adjustment, because you're gonna start doing your thing here. Hold on. There you go. Hold on. We're still learning how to do this. Okay. There you go. There's that. And then let me get this over here. And then we should have music. Okay.
That's our live episode.
That was it. I'm going to move out of the way so you can see this stuff.
If you have any questions or comments about this episode of why buyers are having a hard time pulling the trigger, and tariffs and fear and all that good stuff, send us a DM or an email. You know, we'll put our contact info in the show notes. You can stream Bitter Realtor podcasts on all streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We put it up on Instagram because it's fun. Reach out to us, follow us. I'm Joey Rockenstein for Scott Goldman. This is the Bitter Realtor podcast. Why am I bitter? Because I'm a realtor.